How Vandy manages the bowl week distractions will determine the level of success.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you're ready for this bowl game. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now, today we start to dive into the keys to success for victory in the Birmingham Bowl. One of the most underrated but important is how they handle their prep despite all the distractions from bowl week. So this is one of those keys that bowl teams have that is very underrated. People don't think about it often. They get wrapped up in the game, quarterback matchups, how the receiver is going to get open versus what coverages is the defense going to give you, or how are you going to cover their receiver, all the matchups, and you can get wrapped up in all of the minutia of all of that. You can go so far deep into the weeds on matchups and statistics, and hey, their third down percentage is this versus our third down percentage, and you can get caught in all that. But what people don't really understand is these guys are human, and there's videos coming out like, hey, they're enjoying themselves, and they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They absolutely should, because this is part of the whole experience. This is part of what bowl week is supposed to be. However, how they handle their prep, how they handle going from practice to meetings to festivities, and then back to meetings, back to practice, the whole week. And it's a lot. It's very fast, very furious, very like coming at you 100 miles an hour, right? So how Vandy's going to handle that is going to be a determining factor in how well they prep and how well they perform against Georgia Tech. So, and these things can be very, very distracting. Like all these, planned events that, different bowl sites have different itineraries for the teams. They have the team dinners, banquets, all kind of stuff where they're parading around. They have to be here, there, everywhere, wherever. And not to mention, hey, we got to practice today. Oh, hey, we got this cool dinner. We got this cool event, but oh crap, it's 8:30 now. We got to practice, and we got to have meetings, and we got to watch film. And mature teams handle all of that stuff very, very well. Veteran teams handle that stuff very, very well, because those guys, most of the time when you get a veteran team, those guys are used to being in those situations, and they're like, okay, guys, hey, let's lock in here. We can have fun later, but let's lock into our practice and let's get some quality work done. Now, the festivities hasn't been the only distracting thing when it comes to bowl prep. Now, I know before they got to the bowl site, they weren't necessarily zeroed in on prepping for Georgia Tech specifically 100% of the time. They were doing a lot of Clark Lea, and then we're doing a lot of developmental work, which is also phenomenal. So you get some young guys, some reps. You get some of the older guys, some competitive reps. You get to build some things just generically, and I think that could be also just as important as building a specific game plan for Georgia Tech, because really and truly, like, Georgia Tech and Vandy are very, very similar. So I don't think there's a whole lot of like super specific things you have to like nail down over the course of the 3 weeks. I think you pick out certain situations that they thrive in. I think you figure out where they don't thrive and how to attack that and exploit that. And then you just kind of work in generally how you're going to do that, and work in the younger guys as well, because they're gonna, I don't know what their plan is as far as like, I know they want to win the game, and that's first and foremost, but as far as like getting young guys in there and testing guys and just seeing how they respond to different situations, like they prepare for all of that. They prepare for all these scenarios. So how do you do that in the midst of bowl week? How do you do that in the midst of trying to decide, is this Diego Pavia's last game or is he coming back? Like that was a big topic of discussion, for the coaches. How do you handle all the portal visits, right? The guys, the portal opened right in the middle of bowl prep. So, people were coming in and visiting on their official visits, and they were, committing. Coaches were at sometimes during the day, like 100% locked into portal guys, and they've done a tremendous job of getting portal guys. So whatever they're doing there worked, but they're trying to figure out, okay, well, what are some scenarios that we have if Diego Pavia is not coming back, right? So they were distracted with a lot of that stuff. Now, fortunately, that whole thing, a lot of that is behind them as far as like who they're going to go after in the portal. They've signed a bunch of guys already. They're going to sign more very, very soon. But it's one of those things where, okay, now we've got to lock in once wheels touch down in Birmingham, we've got to lock in. We got to focus. It's all Birmingham Bowl from here. So that's, for the coaches. And I think that's why the practices are structured the way they're structured, is because they have to focus on portal guys. They have to focus on recruiting. Like the early signing period was during bowl prep. All the portal guys, like you have to focus on that kind of thing. And you have staffs to do that. But there is some things involved for the coaches that takes their attention away from prepping the team that they have. And I don't love that. It is just kind of what it is because of the way the semesters are laid out and the way the college schedules are laid out. And you kind of have to act with that sense of urgency. There has to be I think at the semester breaks, there has to be a portal period. And, unfortunately, that's just kind of how it goes. And I think that's just kind of the new way of college football. I don't know how they're going to regulate that. I wish they would, for the sake of these coaches and the health of these coaches. Like December's probably the worst month for these guys because they're prepping for bowl or playoff or whatever. They're doing portal, they're doing recruiting, all this stuff. And it becomes taxing. So, how do you manage that? How do you manage that going into bowl week? Like these coaches, by the time they get to bowl week, are probably tapped out. How do you manage that? How do you push through? How do you work through all of that? For the players, how do you work through the distractions of, hey, we had to go down 2 days before Christmas, so we're going to be spending Christmas in Birmingham at the Birmingham Bowl. Like guys that are close with their families, like how do their families come to Birmingham early? Do they celebrate, how do they celebrate Christmas? Like that's something that people don't think about when they think about bowl prep. Like that can distract you because, that's a day of prep. That's a day of practice. And I'm sure the Birmingham Bowl committee had events on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, all that stuff. So how do you manage all that? How do you get guys 100% focused when that their mind is in their brain is in their hometown, their mind is in their hometown? It's not on the practice field that day. It's not at whatever event they're getting carted to that day. It's not there. They're wishing they were home with their families, rightfully so. So how do you managing all that? Can be very, very difficult. So you're going to have to, the coaches are going to have to get kind of creative in how they do it and how they break up the monotony. They have to give them mental breaks. They have to build in time for these guys to process and do their Christmas thing. If their family came in, when do they get a chance to spend time with their family? When, is it an organized thing where they just have this big event where all the families come in and I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not privy to the itineraries by any stretch, but how they manage that will determine just how focused these guys are. Now, Vandy's this Vandy roster is very hungry as far as wanting to win this bowl game. They're very hungry. Diego Pavia is hungry. Langston Patterson's hungry. CJ Taylor. A lot of these guys that were here during the 2-10 season, and like CJ Taylor, who came in with Clark Lea, those guys are starving for a bowl win. But at the end of the day, they're human. So how do they handle that? And again, that will determine how they start. And if you start slow against Georgia Tech, they can bury you. So they've got to figure out a way to put in free time, downtime for the guys, but get the information that you need, get the prep that you need, get the film work that you need, the meeting time, all that stuff. Be efficient with it. Take into account that these are some of them are teenagers, but these are 18 to 22-year-olds, or in this day and age, you could be 30 years old and still be playing college football. I don't know. But they need to be able to keep these guys engaged and allow them to disengage and try to manage that as far as the engage, disengage, re-engage cycles, so that they get the most effective and efficient work out of these guys. And that's going to go a long way in determining just how into it they are. Now, Georgia Tech's going through similar stuff. They've had guys flee for the portal and come back. They've had their share of distractions as well. Buster Faulkner has been a very popular candidate, and I'm sure he's been answering his phone. I don't know how active he is as far as looking for other opportunities. But I guarantee you, Oklahoma calls, you're listening. I guarantee you, if Florida calls, they're looking for an offense coordinator, you're listening. If Wisconsin calls, you're listening. You're probably not going into any of these places. You probably had no. He's obviously not going to Oklahoma. They've already hired somebody, but you're obviously probably not going, but you're listening. So that takes your mind off of things a little bit. Can he? He's a professional, so I'm sure he's fine with. Okay, as soon as he hangs up the phone, it's back at it. But again, it's just that thing that throws you off. It's the routines that get thrown off. It's the, for these Vandy guys, they're not used to this. The freshmen have no clue. They don't know anything. They don't know anything to anything. But, some of these older guys, this is like, hey, whoa, this is different. Whoa, it's culture shock, right? And so you got to take that into account. And that's a very underrated thing. But again, it is a big key because it's going to determine how you start and how you kind of settle into this game. If you've had kind of a rough week transitioning and getting started, you're going to have a rough time transitioning, getting started, all that stuff. And it's going to take you a while to kick into gear, and it may be too late. If you've been crisp, clean, effective, efficient, all that, that'll show as well. You come out, boom, hitting on all cylinders, you've had a good week of prep. And so it's going to be determined by the player leadership, how the players buy in, how the coaches manage it, and just how the environment and around the program, how it handles a unique situation. So, but the trenches are important too. Let's not lose sight of that. I'll tell you why winning the trenches is going to be key in this game. Next. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed those Christmas games. They were, the Ravens game was kind of a dud, but the Chiefs game was okay. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Now, if I would have had my $5 bet today, which I didn't, but I would have played Chiefs money line in the over as a same game 2-leg parlay, I would have hit, and it would have been beautiful, right? So it's and then I bet this ridiculous parlay that had like 5 guys scoring touchdowns, and I think I only got one of them, so that didn't go well either. But anyway, so there's a lot of things you can bet on. It's amazing. You can do it live too, like. I thought about jumping in on the Chiefs game live, but I just didn't feel like it, honestly. But, I usually do. I usually jump in on those things. I'll probably do a lot of betting, through bowl weeks and stuff like that. But so here's what you do. Visit FanDuel.com to join today so you can get in on the action. And then you can tell me how much money you won. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. Also, this Christmas season, I know this holidays can be very stressful. You're here, you're there, you're shuffling back and forth to families. You're trying to figure out the perfect gift, the perfect dish, the perfect Christmas cocktail. and it doesn't always go smoothly, right? So what stress does is it brings tension to you, right? And it gets you all out of line, and it gets your nervous system jacked up, right? So the joint chiropractic services, they take care of you, man. It's so awesome. There's 900 locations nationwide. So pick the one nearest you. I go to the one in Bellevue, Tennessee. Don't get that confused with Bellevue, Washington, because I did at first. I typed in Bellevue in my Instagram and I followed it. And I was like, yes. And then I was told that's not the right one. But, I'm sure the Bellevue, Washington location appreciated me following them. They're probably like, why is this guy from Tennessee following us? He doesn't come here. We don't know him. But it's all good. You get adjusted. They have a custom plan for you, and that plan changes every time you step foot in the door. It can change. Hey, man, my lower back's hurting this week. Crack, 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 crack. They focus there. Man, you feel good. You float on out of there on cloud nine. Right. Oh, my neck's hurting this week. Oh, my shoulders are a little bit. Oh, my feet are just. Oh, it's bad. Right. They get you adjusted. So visit one of the over 900 locations, the Joint Chiropractic. Join today. You won't regret it. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. I appreciate it. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC, Chris Cordy does a phenomenal job. We squad up every week. This week it dropped on Christmas Eve. So go check that out. We talk a little bit about upcoming playoff games, transfer portal stuff, Christmas movie things. It was kind of a fun episode. Probably one of the least serious ones we've done all year. But that thing's the squad shows are going to keep going. Also, it gives you a chance to see the other SEC hosts and figure out, hey, I like this Locked On Ole Miss, Stephen Willis. He's phenomenal, right? Or, I'm not really a Gators fan, but I like Brandon Olson, and I think he does a good job with Locked On Gators. I don't care about the content he's given me. I just think he's a good host, and I've enjoyed some of his stuff. And I never thought I'd say that about a Gators podcast, but here we are. All right, so check that out. But Locked On Vandy, thanks for making us your first listen. At Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. Follow us. All right. So we're talking keys to victory. Okay, the Birmingham Bowl is coming up Friday, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. It is going to be a very, very good game. It's very evenly matched. Georgia Tech is one of those teams that I think gained a lot of respect when they beat Miami. They gained a lot of respect when they beat NC State, gained a lot of respect when they took Georgia to, I think, 8 overtimes, something like that. When they kicked off the season beating Florida State before we knew Florida State was horrendous. Like that game probably doesn't have near as much juice as it did then over in Ireland, but you beat Florida State, who just came off a thrashing against Georgia in the Orange Bowl, who thought they should have been in the college football playoff. They didn't. They got their butts handed to them, and then they got beat again, and then that ended up being a string of just getting their tails kicked all season long. So this team is very formidable. You win this game, you get a lot of respect. Vandy's like, okay, we win this game, we go 7-6. Season is a massive success. It already is. But I think you add that little extra cherry on top with a bowl win against a team like Georgia Tech. This was a great matchup. I'm excited about this matchup. I'm glad it wasn't the Gasparilla Bowl against Tulane. Tulane's a bad team when they lose a couple of pieces to the portal. They weren't good. Florida ran all over them. And Florida probably got out of that game going, I'm glad we won, but it just was kind of, we didn't want that as a bowl game. Like that was our reward going right down the road to Tampa to kick the crap out of some team that, got decimated in the transfer portal. Like that's not fun, right? You live for the matchups, man. And this is a good matchup. So one of the keys to this matchup is winning in the trenches. And you could probably say that about any matchup. So I'm not like shattering anything right here, but I'm going to dive a little deeper into what I mean by winning in the trenches, because it means a lot. It's very broad to say, oh, we just got to win the trenches, win the battle of the line scrimmage. Okay, next segment, right? No, I mean, I'm going to go there. But establishing the run, first and foremost, offensively, you have to establish yourself as a true run threat. And it's not, and establishing a run means you're getting movement on the line of scrimmage, means you're creating run lanes, you're putting guys in conflict, you're playing to your identity. And for Vandy, establishing the run is totally different than what Georgia Tech needs to do. Ooh, excuse me. Right? Establishing the run looks a lot different because it's not just like, hey, win the A gap, right? Drive these guys off the ball. No, you got to seal, down block, pull, kick. You gotta leave the right. You gotta trick the right. Like they do some influence trap stuff. They do some really cool things in the run game to put guys in conflict with their motions and their pre-snap formations. They gain leverage so that they can win their matchups in the trenches. So they create double teams or create good blocking angles, right? A jet motion can scoot the linebackers over a step. That might be all you need. Like things like that. Like people don't think about when you establish the run game, being able to, it's just as much about putting yourself in the right situation with the right blocking angles as much as it is just coming off the ball and smashing the dude in front of you, which there's a big element to that. Like when it's 3rd and 1, yeah, you obviously want to just completely annihilate the guy in front of you, drive him into the dirt and let your running back go flying by, let Sedrick Alexander go flying by. You're like, yeah, you want that. That's obvious, right? You win the trenches. Oh, establish a run game, right? Oh, just knock them all down and, rush for 10 yards of carry. Like I think people think that's establishing the run. No, establishing the run is being able to put yourself in a situation to where you can have success running the ball. Because if you can have success running the ball, they have to commit to stopping it. And when they commit to stopping it, when you see a team committing to stop the run, it means something's going to be open on the outside. Whether you want to run to get to that, throw a screen to get to that, take a quick game throw to it, or take a vertical shot play. However you want to get to those matchups on the outside, because guys are committing to the run on the inside, that will determine what you need to do. Okay. So win in the trenches defensively. Okay. You've got to, and this is going to carry me over to my next point, but defensively, and I'll break it up here, but you have to force Tech to be one-dimensional. You have to force them into a box, right? Into like, okay, we know we've got them because they can't do anything else, right? And you got to obviously prevent that from happening to you. And I'll tell you more about that here next. Hey, what time is it? According to my watch, it's game time, right? So game time is focused on togetherness this holiday and Christmas season. It means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift, right? So game time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets to live events even easier. So here's what I mean by that, okay? So Game Time is a phenomenal app. The picks filter out the fluff, show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, right? So there's a bunch of things going on here in Nashville, a bunch of concerts like Old Crow Medicine Show, right? They have a show on December 30th. Their featured section is section 15, row B at the Ryman. They have really good deals. See, look, this is what it looks like. So, like I said, with the Game Time Picks, curation makes it even easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all that stuff. Seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And Game Time ticket coverage means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Hey, we're wrapping up the show here. Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Thank you to you everydayers. Shout out to you guys. Without you, none of this would be possible. I'm sitting at 540 subscribers. This time a year ago, I think I was at like 20. Like I wasn't very far along. People didn't know about me. Vandy wasn't in a bowl game. People weren't really listening. The basketball team kind of sucked. Everybody's just kind of ready for baseball, and even that didn't really draw that much excitement. But here we are. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything you guys do in support. So we're talking about keys to the game, right? Managing distractions from the bowl week festivities. We talked about that. How they handle that is everything. Win in the trenches, establishing the run. Just give yourself a chance to be successful running the ball, right? And then in order to do that, you have to win on first down so that you can win on third down. Okay. And I kind of transitioned into that because what winning in the that's what winning in the trenches does. Because on first down, it gives you a chance to gain good yardage to set yourself up for second and manageable. And then, third down, or the best way to win third down on offense is to not get to third down, is to move the chains before you get to third down. That's the best way to increase your third down percentages. Don't make it to third down. So winning on first down means a lot of things. It means winning in the trenches. So you got to win your battles. You got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to block the right guys in the right situations, and you've got to be able to get a beat on what they're doing. You've got to be able to pick up on movement patterns, how guys are playing, who's exhausted, because those guys, if you make them run side to side and all that stuff, they get kind of tired. There's a lot of energy being exchanged in the defensive line. So you have to win on first down. How you win on first down is completely up to you. If you want to, at first it probably needs to start with establishing the run game. Like you probably need to start getting 3 to 4 to 5 yards on first down running the ball. Like if you can get to that point, you're established. Now you go do your thing off of that. So now after like a couple of series, if you've established the run after like 2 or 3 series on first down, then you start throwing in those wrinkles. You start throwing in those tendency beaters, right? The option pass, the RPO screen, the RPO slant, the shot play, the play action boots, all that stuff. You can start to kind of sneak those in on first down as you establish the run. But if you don't establish the run, it doesn't matter. Because Vandy, the drop back game that's the bottom of the totem pole for Vandy. The drop back pass game, the proverbial 5-step progression reads, whether it's full field progression, side to side, or matchup based, or pattern reading, or however you decide to read what certain concepts. That's very far down the list for Vandy. And without being able to, Vandy can't get to much if they don't establish the run. That's their identity. That's their offense. That's what they do. That's what Tim Beck and Jerry Kill, that's what they do. If you can't establish the run, you're screwed. If you can't win first down, you're more than likely you're screwed. If you get the second and long, teams can pin back and go, hey, I know you're going to throw a screen. I know you're going to try to run to get some yards back, right? So if it's 2nd and 10, 2nd and 15, you get a pre-snap penalty. You get thrown for a loss. You take a sack. Your jet sweep gets tossed for a 4-yard loss. Whatever the case is, you get in second long. Now it gets a little bit harder because teams are going to run blitz you, knowing, hey, you're probably going to run or you're probably going to throw a screen. Both of those things are effective. And then on third and long, here they come. Pavia is running for his life back there, and he throws one up to the middle of the field like a grenade. And next thing you know, they're running back. Luckily, he didn't do that very much, but that kind of thing can happen. So to win on first down, you've got to get 2 yards is okay. 3's decent. 4's pretty good. 5, you're cooking, right? 2nd and 5 is way easier to call plays for than 2nd and 10, right? Because the defense is a little bit more on their heels in that scenario. And it's a difference of 5 yards, and it seems very minimal, but you would be surprised what defenses do on 2nd and 5. If you watched every series and see what they did on first down, see what they did on every first down, and then the defense you got on second down as a result, you'd be surprised at how conservative defenses are at 2nd and 5 versus 2nd and 10, right? There's way more run blitzes. There's way more things that happen in those scenarios than if you get a shorter distance. Like if you can get 7 yards on first down, I don't think a team's going to run blitz you because they're kind of reeling a little bit. So winning on first down helps you win on third down. It gets you into manageable situations, and it gets you to either, hey, if you win on first down on defense, you could possibly, like I said, that what defenses would do to us, we can do the same thing. We get them to third and long. Here we go. We're off the field. Boom, they're punting, 3 and out. Pavia, Diego's got the ball, right? Offense. Get 5 yards on first down, 5 yards on second down. You don't even get to third down. That's the best case scenario. So anyway, we're going to continue with the keys to the game. Here's a recap of what we talked about today. We're going to have 3 more tomorrow's episode, getting you ready for the game. And then we're going to react and see how we did for the keys to success. We're going to see how we did. How do we manage it? How we manage the distractions is going to be graded by how we start. If we start sluggish, we didn't manage them very well. Win the trenches. If we can push some people around and establish ourselves, and if we can get into our offense, that means we've won in the trenches. If we can't, we didn't. And win on first down is a big tie-in to winning in the trenches. If you can win in the trenches, you're going to win on first down. If you can win on first down, you're going to win on third down on both sides of the ball. So that's all I got for you guys. Hope you guys, like I said, had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope you enjoyed it and you enjoyed some time with your family. And with that, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Get you ready for the matchup against Georgia Tech. We'll continue on, press on, anchor down, behave yourselves. Peace.